So I want to review KACHUU, which is Hit and Run. And to me, it is the Oscar-nominated short film that's going to win best live action short. And there's a lot of reasons why I have to say this. Like, first of all, it's about this woman who lives in the Middle East, and I don't really know from the movie if it's mentioned or not. If it's mentioned what country she lives in, there is the Cyrillic alphabet, and she looks of Asian descent. So I would kind of argue maybe Mongolia or another country like that. But because I know there's some places in Mongolia where they use the Russian Cyrillic alphabet, if I'm saying it correctly. So she's somebody that she leaves her home. She goes to school. No, she works to earn a scholarship, and she also has a sister that she loves and cares about. And she also works at a place to make bread. And then what happens is that she closes down, and there's a bunch of men who show up at the bread shop and ask her, when's what we're looking for the other person that's there. When is that person going to come back? And she says, well, they're going to come back tomorrow. So they know that she's by herself. They kidnap her and they bring her back to her family because her family has an arranged marriage for her. And definitely, during her arranged marriage, there's a lot of things that do happen. Like, obviously, she's uncomfortable with what's going on. She tries to escape a couple of times, and all her mother kind of sees is that, she's ungrateful, she's unappreciative of the family that she's marrying into, and that it really hurts the pride of the family that she is defiant about getting married. And then also that once she decides to have children, all of her problems will be solved. So definitely some very archaic misogynist values. And obviously there are places in the world where people believe in those things, unfortunately, that, women have no rights. And then once they get in arranged marriage, the best thing to do is just, fuck them and put a baby inside them. So then they kind of feel like they can't move because they have to think about the life they brought into this world. So, it's very, very sad that this happens. I'm sorry to be vulgar, but I definitely want to be blunt about this. But I think that some of the strengths I do see in this piece is that obviously, when arranged marriages do happen, when she got kidnapped, it was kind of interesting that the biggest thing that scared her was that they were putting a piece of cloth on her head, just making her look nice for their wedding and stuff like that. Obviously there are other ways women are kidnapped, and it usually ends with them, being beaten and raped and sexually assaulted into a form of trauma, and then thrown on the market to be into prostitution. This is just more of a kidnapping for arranged marriages, even though in general the theme is how bad these arranged marriages are. Obviously they could not do anything to her physically because she has to look good for her wedding day. So they don't want to have scar marks or beat her up or anything like that. And then also, I think that the strength of this piece, it shows the psychological burdens of this. Obviously, she just wants to die because, she's in a life that that doesn't make her happy. Obviously, in the lifestyle that she has with her arranged family, she's expected to do the clothing, do the cooking, and then also witness things that make her uncomfortable. They have a goat, and instead of having it as a pet, they just slit its wrists, slit its throat, and then just serve it and whatever. So she's not a fan of the customs that she has to kind of tolerate. And if she doesn't tolerate those customs, she's looked at as ungrateful. And also she has to share a bed. Obviously the person that she's married to cares about her in the sense that he's not going to force himself on her and be you're my wife. This is good, the sex is going to happen. So there is a level of, he doesn't want to abuse her or anything like that. And I think that that's good because that makes him a redeemable character. And then not every man that gets an arranged marriage or has family members that supports an arranged marriage will go as far as hiring kidnappers to kidnap not every man who's gonna get the wife is somebody that wants to, rape the girl or whatever, or start a family, through rape or whatever. It's definitely happened, but it's good that it doesn't happen in this case, because that's not every story. And if you make a thing about man bashing, it's not always necessary. The same thing if someone was to do a film about like domestic violence and they showed women beating their sons. You can't just always show one aspect of it where it's like one gender does worse. I also like how the mother character was like the big antagonist in this whole piece, because obviously she wants her daughter to be married off because that's their tradition, because that happened to her and that happened to her grandmother. And the advice that they have is that, eventually time heals all wounds. So time allows you to accept things that are unfair. And I think that is very, very true, because sometimes there is unfairness in life. And sometimes there are things like this that it transcends an unfairness that you have to digest. It goes into a level of unfairness where it's like, no, I can't tolerate it because it goes against my values and everything like that. And I think that I like this film because I think that, there's a lot of strong acting. And I also like the main character because she, again, if they had, best actress in a short film, she would win in a lot of different areas. And I do think that they do a good job as an ensemble to really show how sad and barbaric it is to treat a woman like that. And I think one of the saddest scenes in the whole movie is that, like after she and her husband share a bed together, she's examined with a rag. She's examined, and like there's a woman putting a rag between her legs to examine her vagina to see if she got penetrated and that she's pregnant. And I kind of think that was the saddest thing in the whole movie, because it kind of adds to the fact that, how, women were seen as just, baby factories. They're there to start the family. It kind of makes me think a little bit of the film The Last Duel by Ridley Scott, where it's about women being raped, but then also in the movie there's a male horse raping a female horse. It was kind of like the metaphor of how people bring animals together to produce a better animal, a better offspring, by allowing the male animal to have its way with the female animal. And we don't look at that as rape. We kind of look at that as natural. But the same way, in The Last Duel, it was in the world of that film, because it was in the 1300s, raping a woman was considered, damaging a man's property in the world of the 1300s in The Last Duel. But in this piece, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of it. I have to look down my notes. In this piece, Take and Run, I almost said Hit and Run, Take and Run. In some ways, she is just like one of the farm animals, because she doesn't have any rights. And ultimately, her big goal is to be the best wife, be a grateful wife, and then also produce babies to let the family go on. And obviously, they have a bit of a farm or whatever. So I do like the ending, because they do two things about the ending. Like, obviously, she has to say goodbye to her younger sister. And I think one of the sad things about it is, more than likely her younger sister will be in that situation too when she gets older, like forced to marry somebody, versus going to school and actually applying the knowledge that, she has, so it's definitely a very, very powerful piece. I will say that I do think that ultimately, unfortunately, I think this is going to win Best Live Action Short Film for two things. It's a great story thematically, and the editing and whatever doesn't really stand out to me. It's just there to tell a story. It's not there to be flashy. Sometimes I think that when you make a piece of film, the editing, the cinematography, everything has to transcend. Like, you look at Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick. He was influenced by the paintings of the 1800s and the 1700s. So when he kind of made his cinematography match that, that's transcending. He's trying to say, you know, this is a historical piece. We're going to that level. When you watch a film like Whiplash, because it is about the urgency and the competitive nature and all the emotions it brings out to become a musician of a very high caliber, the editing being very, like, you know, rough and violent and flashy works for it. But in this film, I don't think that the editing or any other department does anything else but tell the story. It doesn't transcend. And that's why I say the film that I like the most, Please Hold, is the best one out of the group. It has technical features that transcend. This film does, and none of the other films do in this class. So I think Please Hold is the best one. But I do think, for a few reasons, why this film's going to win Best Live Action Short. It's a woman's issue, and the Oscars is very Democratic Party and neoliberalism. Anything with a women's issue is going to stand out. Number two, it's the main character is of Asian descent. I know some people nowadays people are very reactive. You know, I'm biracial, but a lot of people think that I'm a black man, even though I do not like being called a black man. But it looks like she's of Asian descent. When you physically look at her face and her body. I know that's an uncomfortable subject matter, but a lot of people see the world like that. So she does look of Asian descent. With COVID, phobia against Asians, that's another reason why they would pick this film. Because, and then also because of Parasite, and then China and other countries having some influence in the media and wanting their films to do well or see their representation do well. Obviously, it makes the Asian audience happy. And then I would also say that, you know, this is maybe taking place in Mongolia or an Asian country near Russia, Ukraine. So obviously, a country neighboring Russia, we feel sorry for it. That's similar for how we feel sorry for what's going on in Ukraine. So there are a bunch of, you know, racial advantages it gets. There's a bunch of sociological advantages it gets. And the Oscars does do that. And obviously arranged marriages and how women don't have rights in other countries. And they're treated like, you know, like sperm. They're treated like, you know, baby factories. That is an issue that's very, very important. And I think that this is a good film that represents that. I think that for the messages, the themes, and the other ways it can tie in to make everybody kind of happy are also factors that matter. With the Oscars, it's not just about the film, it's about the politics. So again, you know, when Obama was president, if there were a bunch of black filmmakers talking about how they were treated badly by police officers, a lot of people would love those films because of that stereotype that, you know, everybody wants to hear the story of the black man being beaten by police officers because people don't look at black people that deeply. And then because Obama is a black president, give it to some black people to kind of be like, we're ahead of our time. Nowadays, if somebody took a camera and went to the Ukraine and filmed a bunch of dead bodies and they were a woman and they brought it to the Oscars, that would win like Best Documentary next year because you have the Ukraine and then you have a person of color, possibly an Asian woman because they want to push more Asian directors nowadays. That's going to win, and that's politics. And I'm sorry, that's just how it is. So I think that for those factors that really shouldn't matter, those X factors, in addition to this being a great film, those are the reasons why I win, because the Oscars is political. I'm not happy Lady Gaga I'm not happy Lady Gaga was not nominated for Best Actress. She should have won Best Actress, but it kind of goes with what I said about Kristen Stewart. Lady Diana died like 25 years ago. This is her 25th anniversary. Why do you think Lady Gaga, who did a better performance than her, why do you think why do you think Lady Gaga, who did a better performance than Kristen Stewart, is not nominated? Because they want Kristen Stewart to win, to say, well, think of Princess Diana and think about like what she represented to women. So they're always going to arrange things in a way to make it work for the narrative that they want to tell. And unfortunately, I do think that this film is going to win, because it's not just about the film. It's about the fact that it's about a woman's issue. It has Asian people in it, with China and other countries that are of Asian, that have a lot of Asians in it, and they want to feel represented, because and there's the Chinese dollar, which has a lot of value in America right now. And then the other thing is that, like I said, that obviously it could be Mongolia, more than likely. And don't we feel bad for a country that is close to Russia that is suffering? Makes us think of the Ukraine a little bit, because there's a lot of countries neighboring Russia. So I think those factors are going to help it win Best Short Film. I want Please Hold to win. I want Please Hold to win very, very badly, but I think that this is the film that's going to win. I know a lot of people don't like having the social, political, and racial politics conversation, but that is important. That's how they pick things. I'm sorry. That's how they pick things, and that's what they're looking for when they pick their award winners. So all right, I'm very happy that I reviewed all these films. I work a lot of hours at the hospital. I've usually worked 80-hour weeks. But they cut down the overtime. It's going back to like 64-hour weeks maximum. And unfortunately, I had to get like a COVID booster shot. I've been hurting for a couple of days, so I had time to go down to New York. I almost had to bring a wheelchair down there. And I had to ice myself a lot because I was so hurting. There's some other films that I want to review for, as far as the documentary, as far as more of the animated films. But I'm happy. This is a very, very good class of work. I think everybody who is nominated deserves it. I think that, one thing I'd tell anybody who wants to be nominated for an Oscar, it is the social political messages being relevant for the year that you're running in. So, obviously I work in the hospital. If I made a film about COVID, I have some friends over in the Ukraine. If I made a film about the Ukraine, or if I just went over there and I filmed some stuff, that would be very, very helpful. So sometimes you have to think about what's going on in that year, and then just make a film off of it to kind of like make it to the Oscar level and other things like that. So I'm very happy with the body of work that I see. And rightfully so, everybody deserves to be here. So, good round of applause. I'm not going to applause because I feel like a cartoon character doing it, but I'm very happy with all the work that I see. Very great year for short films, and I'm very happy. And I'm rooting for Please Hold, but all the other options, I think everybody did a really great job. I'm happy that The Dress, I didn't really get into it, but I watched it one more time because as an artist and as a writer and as a filmmaker, I just think that, and as somebody who's judged a film competition, I had to show some respect and say, what, I didn't get it. I need to watch it a few more times to actually get it. All right, that's all I got to say. Thank you.